time travel can often be a tempting thing. Even if you don't really you wouldn't really believe in time travel and the possibility. Think about it. Like as a Christian, it would be a very tempting offer. But by the enemy. I think about how the enemy tempted Jesus. You could have all these things in this world. That's what Satan told him when he was in the wilderness. You could have all these things. You could be the king. You could have riches. You could have these things. But Jesus said no. He was willing to live in a certain way. He was willing. He surrendered everything that he had to to do what needed to be done. There is an important principle of there that this life is temporary, but things in eternity are forever. Jesus knew who he was before he he even had that before he was even tempted. He knew who he was. He left all of that. He went down, died for our sins. You know, us Christians, this is like second, like very well known knowledge. So if most of us had that option, like imagine if the option was available. It brings up this important question of what what was what's our heart like? Do we really love God, and do we really have this level of commitment to Him when we are living in this life? And are we going to choose to live in contentment with how things happen to see God's glory manifested? Now, many people would say yes, because God has put that in their hearts, and they're taking on this mentality, and they're willing to accept that. But if you have brokenness, and healing might need to take place, this might be a little bit tougher of a question for you, because no one really likes pain. No one likes it. I know that there are certain things that deep down, like if I could change them, I personally would. But I've come to the realization that things happen the way that they happen, and we can't change the past, but we can move forward. And when we do, and when we do that, we are looking at what God gave us, time, whatever you still have, and we are choosing to make use of it. Like when the people that were healed by Jesus, the blind man, the paralytic, the guy who couldn't, stand, leprosy, they were rejected, scorned. Well, not really scorned, but more so, they just weren't able to operate the same way. So when people go on living like that, they would want to, like, if that time travel option was an option, they would change it. Well, they may be certainly tempted to change it. Second point I want to bring up is having a different life. People oftentimes in TV shows and movies, they wish that they would have had a different life because they it kind of comes from it can come from the first point of how things happen, but people might feel like it was unfair of what happened to them. And for us Christians, if you have you you could be you might still have just some things to go to God about, but in the end, understanding that you still have time if you know while you're alive, and you can make good use of that by putting steps in to try to become what you had wished. And like I've been kind of like I've gone through that, and I'm doing it now. Like there are plenty of choices, plenty of mistakes that I wish that I had acted differently, that things wouldn't have had to happen because stuff was painful. It hurt, not necessarily more physical, but more just emotionally. Like, and you know, this life, it's not like being a Christian. Like when God has like a plan in your life, it's not easy. The enemy will try to come attack you, and he doesn't fight fair. He fights dirty. However, I've recently kind of come to this place of like not just saying that like I've accepted it for the sake of accepting it, like for the sake of just like wanting to just say it because you want to please God, which that should also be a reason. More so, but more so, like personally, like like as a person, like with how you like how you think, like you're willing to go to the extent of just accepting what happened and choosing to take a break from that for a bit, get yourself together, and making sure that that doesn't happen again, or that it doesn't really happen as often because you're taking a personal level of accountability, and and you're taking it upon yourself to take extra steps to make sure that you don't miss those opportunities coming in the future. This can include things like how you should have responded to to people that God allowed to come your way. Maybe you showed them a side of you that wasn't good, but then now, as a believer, or now with a different perspective, if you would know what you know now, what you understand now, you wouldn't have to, or you would have gone about you would have handled the situation different. You would have gone about it a different way, right? And there there's also this possibility of things obviously ending, like things can end up worse. Oftentimes you see, oh, the past has changed, but then something worse happened, and there's actually elements of witchcraft hidden in there, sacrifices. Like, do you notice that when spells are made and stuff like that, like when there's sin against God, it does damage to you. This might include not being kind to others, all this stuff, and it like it uh, degrades you a little bit, like mentally. It doesn't like it harms you. Things like unforgiveness. There are there, like you can get the disease and different things. You can get illnesses. So imagine just something basic like that, but then multiplied with sacrifices, with all these different things. There are even things like being depressed because you are accepting horoscopes. There's a lot of things that the enemy has has implanted, and it's up for us Christians. It's up to us Christians to watch out for stuff like that. So that was just kind of like to further support what I previously said. There is there is a sacrifice, like when you change something at will. There is something else, and God humbles those who exalt themselves, those who try to make their will. There's humbling. It might be correction. The humbling can come through many forms, right? For example, you see the idea of karma, going, acting when people go and try to put themselves above somebody. Something like they stub their toe, they almost trip, or they run into something. Something can end up happening. God's gonna humble you if you try to put yourself above other people. Hope this helped. I hope this was an interesting just kind of topic. I hope this made you realize if you just need a different change in perspective, if God might be calling you to healing. God bless.